Material: 74 mg DiPT. Body weight: 165 pounds. Mail time: 9:20 p.m. The experience: several months ago, I picked up 200 mg DiPT. I had read and reread the TiCal entry a dozen times, and I was interested in the auditory hallucinations. I had other materials available, and real-life responsibilities constantly nagging at me. So for those several months leading up to today, it sat quietly in my fridge. Subjective reports from TiCal, online, and correspondence in TCC suggested that this would be a mild hallucinogen at doses approximately 100 mg. It was this information which led me to conclude that I would not need a sitter at my chosen dosage of 74 mg. This was not a good idea. T+0 I emptied 2 capsules of DiPT into warm water. I emptied 1 packet of Emergen-C brand vitamin drink into the water. I drank it and grimaced at the taste. Revolting. I had chosen to stay in for the evening, to play music and experiment with my DiPT trip space. I was browsing the internet, and had the TV on in the background. I had eaten a steak about an hour before dosing. One quick comment: the reason I use the Emergen-C powdered vitamin drink is because it has a lot of vitamins and minerals in it, but also because it fizzes the water, making it carbonated. I have a suspicion that the carbonated water increases the absorption rate. T+007 I say, hello, a few times and notice no difference in sound. My head feels a little bit different, but I think that's due to the awful taste of the material. T+012 There are slight hints of tryptamine buzz in my neck. It's just a tightness right now. Saying, hello, yields an awareness of an odd vibration that I normally don't notice. But there is no significant sound distortion. T+023 I notice the first alert of the body buzz, but no real body buzz yet. My ears feel like they are plugged up with cotton. I'm watching South Park and the TV sounds muffled. My normal patterns of thought remain. T+026 My hearing seems changed enough for some music. I turn off the TV and I start listening to Johnny Cash. His voice also sounds muffled. It's as if he were singing into a cardboard tube. T+030 The drug is making me a bit chilly. Sound is wavering, but there is no regular oscillation of sound intensity, like light flickering through a flame. The sound is flickering in pitch and intensity. I put on a sweater and some heavier pants. T+035 Okay, I'm seriously off baseline. This is on the level of about 3 Long Island iced teas. The music is having a direct impact on my intoxication level. I swapped out the Johnny Cash for Portishead's Dummy. The more sound I hear, the more trippy my awareness becomes. When I hear a note or collection of notes, I feel as though it triggers a flood of other internal stimulation, thoughts, feelings, impressions, sensations. T+037 saying, hello, resulted in a deep drop in pitch. The music has a metallic ring to it, as if the drumming is not against drums, but metal pipes. Clang, clang, clang. To make an analogy, the effect on my hearing reminds me of the puffiness, numbness I have felt when the action of Novocaine is wearing off from my lips. The puffing and dulling of sensation in my lip produces the same kind of lack of sensation equals new sensation experience, if that makes any sense. Also, I notice that when I turn the volume down, my ears are ringing, buzzing. If I think about it for a second, I start to hear all sorts of sounds. Birds, lawn mowers, music I haven't been listening to, etc. T+046 The walls are breathing slightly. If I focus on a spot, the wall ripples back and forth like a sheet of guitar strings, trading energy like dominoes. I am at ++. T+051 I am being taken up very fast now. Calling this a rocket ride would not be wrong. I puke a few times and then I'm fine. The nausea isn't really even nausea per se. I get the sense that I have to puke. So I go to the bathroom and puke. There is no concern about it and I don't feel physically uncomfortable. I'm just matter-of-factly taking care of business. I am finding it increasingly hard to focus on time. Sound and time have been warped together to form a sort of sound-time continuum. Maybe it's time that's being processed differently and not sound itself at all. Maybe our internal clocks are sound-based. I wonder what the noise of signal-to-noise ratio fame actually sounds like. See the noise from a human body, the noise that an ear learns to tune out. The noise of an ear living right underneath its own very suspicions. T+106 My voice sounds like a Battlestar Galactica battle droid voice, deep, metallic, robotic. I am listening to Björk, which works really well. I'm still experimenting with the music. I tried listening to Jay's, which didn't work so well. I decided to try music that was normally dissonant. Tori Amos. I put on Blood Roses, and about 1 minute into the song I had to turn it off. It was too much. It triggered such a massive flooding of thoughts that my brain felt like a T3 connection during a free porno giveaway. I was shocked at the intensity of the trip to this point. I could see myself headed to +++ territory, and this was only the first hour. I had 7 more to go. This didn't bother me much. However, this point of the trip was the beginning of the march toward ego loss. For me, I know I'm headed there when every thought I try to hold on to creates a question or more about what it is I am thinking about. For example, if I have the thought, the green paint in the bathroom is intensely green. The cascade of thoughts that follow involve me asking myself what is green. Then immediately following up with more questions. When I think, it's a color, I ask myself, what's a color, really? Etc. and multiplied a few thousand times. Eventually this line of thinking pulls my sense of self apart as I get closer and closer to asking fundamental questions in an attempt to maintain a foundation for further logical thought. Logical thoughts are nigh impossible at this point though. And I realize in one of the few hard-fought moments of clarity that I am alone tonight and that I either need a sitter to allow ego loss or I need to fight it. T+2 o'clock I spent the last hour charged with so much physical and mental energy. The colors everywhere are much brighter and I am tripping hard. +++.5. The hallucinations are all internal. Mind's eye hallucinations, but every bit as powerful as 6+ tabs of acid. I wandered from my couch to my bathroom to my bed. Every so often I looked at the clock and prayed. If this thing was going to last me 8 hours, I thought, the peak wouldn't hit until hour 3 to 4, and this scared the shit out of me. The sensory stimulation was so goddamn intense, all I could muster later to describe it was, I am firing neurons so fucking fast. I was aware of so much background input that my brain normally filters out. That it was overwhelming. I felt millions and millions of neuronal signals smashing into each other to create my thoughts out of a seemingly random cognitive dissonance. Imagined colors and imagery interspersed themselves throughout the flow of thoughts. They just kept coming and coming. T+203 All of a sudden the rocket engines shut off and I was left floating at the plateau. I was familiar enough with the experience now that I had wrestled myself away from ego loss and was able to function again. I promptly sat back down and put in another CD. This time it was Curves Pubic Fruit. This album is fantastic with DiPT. I felt comfortable by myself and happy that the peak had hit so early. T+225 I am 3 or 4 songs into the music now and I can barely hear it. I put on Urami Bushi from the Kill Bill soundtrack. Odd. I feel removed a bit from the extreme bits of the come up. This is not a bad trip space place. The ride up was bumpy as hell though. T plus 240, hello, hello, test produces no change in sound. My voice is still deep and robotic. T plus 250, I decide to take a walk outside. I am comfortable enough with myself. Even though I am still plus. I walk into the backyard, which is pitch black, and all I can hear is a ringing, buzzing. It is foggy outside and the sky is cloudy, reflecting the lights from this town back at us, casting everything in a pinkish glow. I stare up at the clouds through thick networks of leaves and branches. The patches of sky which are visible through the trees start to look like a pattern, and my entire field of vision turns into a pinkish, green, black kaleidoscope. The pattern keeps moving as if I am turning the kaleidoscope. I stare at this for a few minutes, and then I decide to walk down my block. The air is moist and there is a small wind. In the absence of music, this is much less intense. Feeling good from the walk, and no longer trapped in my house, I decide to walk back and try some more music. Simple sounds like a hand on my hair or against the fabric of my shirt are totally foreign. The metallic sound that I mentioned for drumbeats is almost sinister sounding. But there is no emotional component of the concept of sinister to go along with it. The sounds just sound appropriate for evil characters in a movie. T plus 307, back inside. I sit down in front of the computer and start to play iSketch. I started listening to Tricky, which was also odd, but a good choice. My thinking was getting clearer and I damn near won some rounds of iSketch. I wish I had been able to get some screen caps. One of my words was fear and loathing, and I wound up drawing a convertible with bats around it. After the intensity of the cum-up was more or less over, I noticed a really positive overall sense of well-being and I was enjoying it. At the conclusion of each iSketch game, fireworks sound effects fired off. They were tons of fun. This is about when I noticed the jaw clenching and nonstop smiling. T plus 4 o'clock, coming down now. Nice body buzz. Thinking getting clearer. Sounds haven't changed, but they don't affect my thoughts as much now. I enjoyed the Curve CD the first time, so I put it back in to see what it would be like. Tool and APC sounded great earlier. I could hear more of the music now, but the distortions were similar. T plus 5 o'clock, I put in some jazz to see what would happen and I was disappointed. It sounded terrible. I tried some of David Bowie's '97 album and it sounded soulless. I put Bjork back on and I was content. T plus 6 o'clock, the buzzing in my ears is here to stay, but I should try and get some sleep. If any of you are interested in experimenting with this material in the future, I have 2 pieces of advice. Have a lot of music around and make sure you have a sober sitter. This one is not as easy to deal with as the 2CXS. At higher doses anyway.